Uh, yeah, yeah, uh. Good morning, everybody. July 28th. We are here to talk once again on River City 93 about the Richmond Kickers. But before that, let's talk about anything else in the world. Uh, I'm Matt. Yeah, Elliot's out this week, so I'm taking over the hosting duties, joined by Kate. Kate, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm not watching any Olympics right now. A little sad about it, but we are recording this at 9:45 in the morning because we needed to get this over with as quickly as possible so we could forget about this weekend altogether and start focusing on what I'm sure is going to be the most impressive win streak in USL One history starting the very next game.
Yeah, July's not a soccer month. Let's be real.
No.
Real soccer starts in August.
Real soccer starts in August. Everyone knows this. Everyone has always said this.
Yeah. On the Olympic front, how have the first couple of days of the Olympics been for you?
Been good. I've watched a lot of tennis and a lot of soccer so far. I watched a little bit of rugby because they had that men's tournament start even earlier than that. So there's been some good stuff to keep up with. But there's too much going on. Like despite everything I've watched, I still missed like Nadal and Alcaraz playing doubles. So I have to go back and rewatch that. And yeah, the U.S. women play today against Germany. That should be a pretty good match. Germany has decided they're good again, so that should be a good. Every game will be a good one, but it seems like the world is finally righting itself. Germany is back and they're good on the international stage again, and Australia is being beaten by the Germans and pushed back to irrelevance where they belong. And England's not in the tournament at all. So international women's soccer, the earth is healing.
Excellent. Yeah, I've been enjoying just using my Peacock subscription to watch all the most random things. Even this morning, so far, I've watched a little bit of handball, which is fascinating. Would have loved to play that in my younger days. Women's, mountain bike racing. Some poor girl absolutely ate it going down some like rock stairs
Oh
or
God.
something. That didn't look great for her because I think she was in a medal spot before that too. So unfortunate for her. Basketball got bizarrely into watching some mixed doubles badminton yesterday. Like
Heck
I like
yeah.
watching the weird stuff that I never see any other time of year.
Yeah.
And yeah, gotta love. Don't usually love Peacock or any of these streaming services, but this is the one time where it works out because you can just filter through, find what you want to watch. You're not at the whims of NBC or any of their other channels to hope that they're putting on what you want, because usually they don't put on what I want.
No. And the multicast. YouTube TV rolled out the multicast, but you can't pick what you want to watch. But at least with Peacock, they're usually picking pretty good stuff on the multicast. So you can have 4 screens going at once on your TV, and you can switch between which audio you want to hear all at once, which is wild. The variety of sports they managed to put up on this 4-screen multicast is just unbelievable at times. So very big fan of them being able to take it. This feels like this is what streaming is for. This is what we were promised when they rolled out streaming platforms, that we were going to be able to watch all the stuff they didn't put on cable. And it's felt like it's taken a really long time for some of these streamers to actually make good on that promise. So
And do it well.
Yeah, and do it well. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. So that's all we need to talk about, right?
Right. Okay.
Nothing else going on.
Perfect. Yeah. No. Nothing to speak of.
Thanks for listening, everybody. No, we will talk a little bit about what went on in Kentucky. Last night in Lexington. So the Kickers went out to Lexington. First time playing Lexington all year, which for July 27th seems very late. Nice little schedule quirk. If I say that, but we haven't seen Omaha yet either. So
no, but we've played Greenville 3 times.
Yeah. So just weird how falls out, sometimes. So coming into the match, kickers were in 10th place. Lexington was in 11th place, possibly, the team with an even more disappointing, season going, than Richmond, because you go back and look at all the preseason predictions, everybody had Lexington probably at worst top 2 or top 3. And
All comms could
it,
talk about last night was the players they signed from all over the world, the money they spent.
I don't, did you enjoy the announcer at one point, trying to sell us so hard about how awesome it was that their one guy had experience, playing at the highest levels in conference league qualifiers?
No, oh, and I did enjoy hearing about how one player had played at the very highest level for Tottenham Hotspur. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Let me check that out. He made one appearance in 3 seasons that he was contracted with the club. He did come up through the youth system. I give him that. One senior appearance in 3 years. So true. He did play at the highest level for Tottenham Hotspur once.
It's the new Isaiah Sterling of USL One.
I mean, at least Keziah Sterling made a splash in our fine league.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you're listening to this, look, you already know what happened. The Kickers lost 2-1. I don't know how much new there is to say about what's going on. New ways they gave up some goals.
The timeline in which we are allowed to experience happiness during a Kickers game has been brought probably to the smallest margin of time the game allows for.
Pretty close, at least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
except for them scoring directly off kickoff, like unless they literally kicked it off kickoff and like took Jaro by surprise, that might be the only way we'd see. Even
possibly.
less.
We'll get there. We'll get there though. So pregame comes out and we see a little bit of a lineup change. Once again, Kate, I know this is your one of your pet topics. What did you think when you saw the lineup this week?
I thought it was interesting that we finally Griffin, I won't say got dropped, but probably been given a well-deserved rest, seeing as he's basically started every single game this season and he is a child. So I'm not necessarily going to take that as a ding on his performance, because I think if he were to be dropped in retaliation for performance-related results, we probably would have seen that at a different time. But nice to see, I guess, 2 more senior center backs get this, and only 2 center backs. We've seen 2 senior center backs start before, but usually there's been a third one thrown in the mix, either as a DCM or back 3 of 3 center backs. So we actually saw just 2 center backs.
And Guy was back starting.
And Guy was back and starting. So we had, so I think in practice, I was like, wow, we have 2 tall center backs, 2 tall adult male center backs starting a game for the first time. Maybe this means that maybe they won't get beat in the air because of that, because they're both like really tall and strong.
Yeah. More to come on that topic.
More to come. So I think that's probably where my head was at. But then on the other hand, we seem to see this happen pretty much every week. Something goes wrong, so we just change the entire team and we change the entire starting 11, which always works well when you have a team-related performance issues. You just change everybody. Okay.
Yeah, I will say, great. Injury reports are always nebulous at best in this league. The graphic on screen did indicate that Tony and Zaka were both out with some sort of injury. So I'll give the benefit of the doubt there, and that can allot for some of the changes. Back to James and Chandler, central midfield. I saw Sierkowski get his first start in who knows how long. It's been a while, I think.
I mean, at least he made up for it. He contributed positively, unlike most of the rest of the players on the field. So we'll give him that.
I think he was solid, and we'll certainly be talking about some of his contributions coming up as we work our way through what happened. Yeah, all right. Well, let's kind of hop into it. First half, kind of a little bit of a sleeper again. I thought until things really started to happen later in the half, but the first half hour or so, you know, Kickers got a few good chances, coming, together off of corners. Nothing wrong
Mhm.
with that. Know what you're good at, leverage that. I think Emmy had a header that got deflected before could really go on target from a corner, but otherwise didn't really bother him all night at all. In the Lexington goal in the first half, uh, but on the flip side, Pablo for the most of the first half didn't have a lot going either.
No. I think also I don't want to say like the warning signs were there because that seems a bit extreme because it was not very exciting. But this is definitely one of the matches where the lack of pace in the Kickers team was very evident from the beginning because pretty much anything that Lex was doing was coming through. They're pretty pacey front line. So I feel like it's become increasingly obvious how slow the Kickers are this season. There's no pace anywhere in the entire team. And while they managed it decently well for most of the first half, this is one of the ones where especially in terms of Lexington's press, they were very keen to press throughout most of the first half. And when you have a very quick front line, you can move between those players who are more lackadaisical when they're passing the ball around the back more quickly and put them under pressure a lot more quickly. And something that when kickers try to press, maybe they aren't able to do as effectually when you've got a slower front three doing that pressing. So that was my takeaway was, dang, yep, this team is slow as hell.
Yeah, that came up. I think the team is positioned well to be able to handle that. Like they know what they are and what they aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not getting too often spread out into a situation where we're getting into a track meet because that's probably not going to work out in our favor almost ever, especially against guys like Liati, Juve, Nico Brown. Like they've got some burners out there in Lexington, and you know, this is one area I think Darren and me could get some credit. Like they've set the team up in a way where they're not going to be physically taken advantage of, in any way. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times you want to play to your strengths, but there is something to be said, to protecting and negating weaknesses as
Yeah.
well. And I think that's something that more often than not, we're getting right. So yeah,
For
there's that.
portions of the game. So for portions of it.
Yeah, more often than not.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, otherwise in the first half, I mean, they had a free kick from like 30 yards that hit the top of the bar. I think Pablo had that covered
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Can't really think of too much else noteworthy. Kickers picked up a few early yellow cards along the way. That personally, that doesn't bother me. Like I think there's something to be said for getting an early card or two and letting them know you're there, because this might be the defender in me talking. And as long as you have guys that you can trust to not do something silly later on in the game, so be it. You might need to take your yellow card early on for a tactical reason, or just to lay into somebody.
Yeah. There were a few, according to the commentator, soft penalty shouts as well. But the ref was kind of uninterested in that at either end for the
Yeah,
entire game. So willing to hand out yellows for tackles on the field, but was not interested in anyone, going down under any pressure in the box. So
yeah.
that's
You
a
can,
welcome reprieve, I think. Sometimes those refs can
mhm.
can be very inconsistent, either in terms of not making calls or making calls. So
Yeah, I didn't really have any issue with the ref yesterday. I think maybe one time where I was just like, "Come on, you're really calling that?" But if you get one of those in 90 minutes, that's a pretty good return.
yeah, because there were definitely some soft soft collapses in the box under a slight bit of pressure from
Yeah.
Lexington. So.
And I was definitely worried the first time that happened because I could see it being given, but it wasn't, and I wasn't going to protest it not being given.
Yeah.
So all that being said, we did not get out of the first half unscathed. You get to the 40th minute, and we were worried so much about speed, doing us in, and it was a cross ball that did it instead. You want to do the honors, Kate, or you want me to walk us through this one?
You walk us through. I feel like I have more
Okay.
thoughts than description in my head.
Oh, great, thank you so much. So we're about 40th minute, and Lexington has the ball out wide on the left. Nothing looks too dangerous out there. I think it was Nico Brown crossing that one in, if I remember correct. No, it was Yankum had the first one. And he just loops a ball across the box. He's probably like 30 yards out when he crosses it. And we're in a one-on-one situation at the back post. We got Dak up against Liotti. Okay, this is a play that happens probably 10, 15 times a game, right? Defender defending a one-on-one cross, usually nothing too much to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Especially on a cross that's not particularly vicious.
No, as you see it coming in, you see Dak on his own personal merry-go-round. There, getting ball turned. Like, I couldn't tell if he was. It looked like he was more trying to play the man than the ball, and lost both of them as a result. And then, relatively easy header from 6-ish yards out. That I don't know if Pablo could have done much more. I guess if you really want to split hairs, maybe he could have tried to come for the cross, but I'm not going to put that
I
one on
would trust
Pablo.
my
That's
center
all
back.
Dak.
Yeah, I would trust my center back to
handle
that.
Yeah, so 1-on-1 error again.
Yep. At least it was aerial this time instead of the ball at the feet. We're inventing new ways to concede goals that shouldn't be conceded. I think we've heard a lot, and I think this comes up for their second goal as well, that, a lot of these results are unlucky or the result of, some unlucky moments. And I think when you see goals like the goals we saw today, there's nothing unlucky about conceding those goals. It's lack of concentration. It's lack of physicality. It's getting beat at the back post physically when you're the last man back. It's basic stuff. It's stuff that, there's nothing unlucky about that. That is just a bad goal to concede. And
I think I've gone on this rant before, but I hate the term unlucky. Like, unlucky is something like that Brazilian clip that's been going around for the last week or so, where all of a sudden there's two balls on the field and just literally bizarre things, or like that Liverpool beach ball goal that they conceded like 10 years ago or however long it was. Now that's unlucky. That you got literally probably a rule misapplied. This isn't unlucky. This is failure to execute. And usually the teams that cry unlucky consistently closer to the bottom end of a table. You don't hear the good teams usually crying about it or saying that, oh, we got lucky. No, they scored because they earned it, and you probably got it by merit more often than not. Like, you ask Lexington, they're not going to say, oh, we were lucky with that goal. No, Liotti did something to Barnathan to get him spun around like a top, and got rewarded for it with his goal. So you can miss me with the luck comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe applicable once a season, once or twice a season. You know, there might be a genuine moment where like, yeah, something, but you're not unlucky week in and week out.
Right.
You can't
Yeah.
attribute results week in and week out to luck because obviously, yes, like on occasion, you know, you get a goal off a deflection that, you know, might not have gone in were it not for that deflection, you know, one that goes against you or one that goes for you. Maybe once or twice a season, you can attribute, yeah, like a tough deflection or something to luck. You don't get to attribute the fact that you lose every week to being unlucky because that is a complete lie. You are not getting in unlucky positions every single week. Eventually, the team's just bad.
Yeah. So yeah, it was the first half. Fun. So you go in 1-0 down. What are you thinking, heading into halftime? Where's your
Um,
mind at?
my mind is that we haven't been very good coming back this season, so going a goal down does not bode well for this team's ability to come back and earn a point or three. Um, Mostly because scoring goals has been conceding goals has been a problem and scoring goals. Like we're not particularly excelling in either category. So when you go a goal down, all of a sudden, you know, you've built yourself a mountain to climb. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was feeling particularly optimistic, unfortunately, just based on the record. So obviously a lot can happen. We've been a team in the past with who play two different halves. So sometimes if you have a bad half, you can come out and have a good half. So I don't know. You always have to have I guess, a shred of optimism, but based on track record, there wasn't much to go off of for that optimism.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean it's one of those things like, all right, something's got to get switched up because this is another first half of 0 shots on target. Saw that last game as well. I don't care who you are, you're not getting results if you can't make the opposing goalkeeper actually have to earn his money. Like, all right, if you put some shots on target, the keeper stands on his head that day. That'll happen sometimes. Like, more power to him. Played well. We weren't unlucky, just played well.
Right.
Uh, you know, that's not even what's happening lately right now. Like, team's not getting out of you first gear the entire first half. Most of the time, like you can be as quote unquote dangerous as you want, but teams are going to be happy to let you be dangerous if you know that all that danger is just kind of beating around the bush rather than actually putting anything on target, much less dangerously on target.
Yeah. Agreed.
So we move in to the second half, and immediately good things happen.
Yeah.
So,
We saw Sierra Sistkowski
yeah,
back on the goal contributions sheet, which was nice to see him pay back some of the, you know, getting chosen for the starting 11 and make proving that choice to be a good one with another cross. This was a game of crosses. Crossing the ball in, and Bill Hart takes a few solid touches, and as we saw on his own Instagram story, absolutely toe poked it past the keeper to the upper right hand corner. They all count the same.
yeah, he got inspired by Gianluca Busio earlier in the day. That he's basically American now. He's playing over here. You know, I don't I don't think Germany's in the men's Olympics side of things, so he can hop on the bandwagon there. But yeah, our cross on the ground worked well. Uh, yeah, Sierkowski got done a little bit dirty because they didn't give him an assist on that because it bounced around a little bit in there. Uh, but I think the build went up to it went well. Like, Neil was able to find Ryan getting down the left wing. He got his head up, hit a good low hard cross in there. I think he was looking for Emmy because Emmy was there, had two defenders kind of right around him because he's Emmy. So of course, uh, the defenders are going to do their job and say not you. And the ball just bounces right out, to Bill Harden. He's able to, take I think more than one touch inside, the penalty spot even, and get his body situated, turn correctly, and yeah, just flicks it up, into the top corner, and within a minute of of halftime, we're tied up 1-1, and I'm feeling good at that point. I'm like, all right, cool. These guys, came out, they're ready to go, they're woken up. Let's go. So I'm literally, you know, plating my dinner at that point. So in the kitchen, put the game, on the iPad because clearly the TV was not working, for me in the first
Right.
half.
Right, because that was the problem. The problem, sorry
Right,
everyone, the first half
my
was because
bad.
Matt had the TV, yeah, the game on his TV.
Right,
So like our
I,
bad.
I did, I did, I sacrificed. I went from the big screen down to the small screen, and I'm like, hey, look, yeah, it works.
Hey, maybe there is something to this luck thing. It was
Yeah.
unlucky you had it on the TV.
By the time I got, over the, out of the kitchen over the table, we were losing again.
I think I was still tweeting my "we scored a goal" tweet, and all of a sudden I look up and they're celebrating again.
Yeah.
And Pablo Jara is yelling about something, as per.
Oh, I have a good idea of what he was yelling about. Yeah, because
It was yelling about how unlucky they were. They were just so unlucky with that. He was just yelling, guys, oh, we're just so unlucky. I can't even believe it.
I mean, might be yelling about how unlucky he is. They had central defenders who don't want to track runners.
Yep, bunch of chuckleheads.
Yeah. So basically, the ball goes, from kickoff, immediately out wide left, straight up, the touchline, cross, and Juve is unmarked in the box, just be able to head it home. Again, I don't know what else Pablo could have possibly done on that one. He was again left out to dry.
Yeah, besides like, I don't know, punch Diouf in the head instead of like
Yeah,
take a red card. Like he was put in the worst possible position because I guess our center backs just had decided, we don't need to mark Lexington's top goal scorer. We don't need to do that.
no, that's so 2023.
Yeah, that's what lucky teams or what unlucky teams would do. Lucky teams don't mark top goal scorers.
Yeah, so for me, I don't know. I haven't decided which part's more infuriating: the fact that it was literally straight after the goal, or that when you watch it, you can see Franca check his shoulder, check his shoulder, check his shoulder, see Juf, there, making his run in. Like if he doesn't see him when he's checking his shoulder, boy needs his eyes checked. Then because I swear he looked right at him multiple times and does nothing. Dak, is, the other side of the bracket, for Juice Run, does nothing. Like somebody's got to communicate of, okay, who's going to, put a body on him, who's going to, take this, and instead, again, he just walks himself, right in. Probably the easiest header he's going to have to finish all year, and we got 1 minute of happiness.
It just insane. Genuinely insane. It all, I mean, and another one of the things we've talked about is, possession. Well, 3 passes and they score a goal. Like it's not rocket science. And so also turns out what happens when you go off kickoff, when you actually play the ball forward and you play the ball with purpose towards the goal, turns out good things can come from that instead of what the kickers tend to do, which is pass the ball back and back and back. And like, let's get a good 25, 30 passes in before we even like look about getting the ball up the field, which, okay, that's fine. Okay, great. Maybe we'll invent a new sport one day where you get a point system for the number of passes completed before you move up the field. I don't know. We're playing the wrong sport. We've got to get this. We got to just invent a new sport where passes are converted to points in some way, because
it can be like the rhythmic gymnastics of soccer. Because
yeah, Yeah.
Uh,
Synchronized swimming,
yeah,
artistic swimming version of swimming.
yeah. Because I'll be honest, seen it many different Olympics. I don't get that one at all. It's like, cool, you're running around with a ribbon. Okay.
I thought you were saying you don't get possession-based soccer, and I was with
I
you for
mean,
that one as well.
I mean, yeah. Like again, if my somewhat hot take is that Pep Guardiola is the worst thing to ever happen to actual soccer.
He will pay for his crimes someday.
Yes, yes, because that was right when it was really starting to explode in the states, and that was the height of Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Messi. Those teams that they could do it.
And look pretty while
Yeah,
doing it.
nobody else could, but everybody's like, oh, this is the right way to play.
Pep ball.
You, you can't counterattack. That's negative. That's it's not what you
Think of your
should be doing.
XG. Think of your XG.
Yeah. So
Think of the what is the field tilt? Is that what we're hearing? Arteta's up to in this day and age is calculating his field tilt. Yeah, maybe
yeah,
we need to get these stats into Darren's hands. I think that'll help. We need to start calculating the field tilt of the kickers because that's another probably stat we can. I literally could not even begin to tell you what that is. But I bet we're really good at it.
doubt that because been watching for the last
We're not
year.
good at anything. True.
That's not true. We're good at free kicks and corner kicks.
Mm.
I will stand by that one.
But is good. We're operating in a limited, good as in compared to the other ways we score goals, or good generally.
I mean, I haven't looked at the actual stats. I would be surprised if there's other teams that are more prolific, off of the off of corners, off of converting free kicks. Like I would back us on that one.
I'll let you back us. I think, in my opinion, we just haven't scored, and we have scored so few goals in general that I'm sort of like that. It just feels. I'm like, yeah, it feels like a lot of our goals are coming from set pieces, but it feels like we haven't scored that many goals. So I'm sort of like,
I think this is a situation where we might both actually be able to be right here.
yeah.
So, yeah, rest of the half, stuff happened.
Richmond had 69% possession this half, in the second half, but still only ended up with one more shot on target than Lexington. So we had 3 shots on target to their 2. And what do you know? We created 0 big chances. So really love to see those possession numbers continue to tick up. Obviously, that's really good for us. It's good for our goals as as a club. Sorry, am I being too mean about the possession numbers? It's just
Speak your truth, Kate. Speak your truth.
It's we've seen this film before. We have a lot of possession numbers, and we do absolutely nothing with it. In the first half, Lexington had more possession. They also had more shots, and they had more shots on target. So they had possession in a productive manner that led to them creating more shots and putting more of those shots on target. Richmond had more possession in the second half, had created 0 big chances, and still only had one more shot on target than Lexington did with their 30% possession. So they are also, they are below us in the table on points, but we had 2 games in hand over them. So we're on 12 games played. They were on 10, and they're below us in the table. So you have to factor in the fact that they've played 2 less games, might also factor into their position in the table. So a team that, yes, when they're in possession, they're actually doing something with it. They're not having the ball just to have the ball. So I think there's consistency there between having more. That possession in a vacuum is not a stat that correlates to positive performance on the field. And very few times this season have the kickers' possession numbers translated into more opportunities, to creating more opportunities or preventing the other team from creating quality opportunities. Neither of those things really have been true throughout this season, especially based on the fact that we have yet another game without a clean sheet. So we've now gone. The numbers are insane. So doing absolutely nothing to mitigate the other team's attacking threats with our possession-based game, and doing very little to create, again, because when most of your opportunities come off set pieces, that's great. You need to be able to convert those at a decent rate. That's the point. But if you're not creating through open play in any meaningful way, there's literally no point in being a possession-based team.
Yes. Kind of, moving ahead from there, get late in the match. The kickers had, I think, two decent, to good looks. Landon Johnson came on late in the game, and he gets the ball in the penalty area, and he just goes straight for goal. I don't think it officially registered as a shot. I think it might have technically gotten blocked, but he went right for it. It would have been a nice goal because he didn't have the best angle ever. But if you shoot sometimes, you don't know what might happen. You could get a genuine lucky, bounce off of an unsuspecting defender. You could just score a worldly yourself. Who knows? But something good could happen. It didn't happen this time, but I liked seeing that. And then Neil, almost put another one up on the free kick side of things. He had free kick 25, 30 yards out from the left side, and forced save out of Knight from there. It might have been drifting just wide, but it's close enough that no keeper is going to want to take that chance. So, a couple decent looks. The kicker started to push up, so Lexington did get a break. Pablo, was able to keep it 2-1 with a good save that caught him square in the chest from getting big. But the equalizer never actually came.
No, it did not. Yeah, I thought Landon Johnson had a great cameo. And his pace, I think, was helpful. He was kind of slotted into that wing back type role. He was having to really get back on those counterattacks, and he is a pretty pacey player, so his speed was an asset defensively as well. He was the player who was tracking back the player with the ball on that big save that Pablo had. So he sort of was able to contribute on both ends. So yes, maybe we do have one pacey player on the team, and it's a 17-year-old. So that's great. But yeah, I thought it was a good cameo. So hopefully he continues to, play that fearlessly when he does get those opportunities.
Yeah, so that was one of the subs. He came in for Sierakowski, I think, like 85th ish, minute. Any thoughts on any of the other subs that came on for the team, Kate?
We've spoken about set pieces, so it was nice to see Ani come in. So the first two subs were to take off the players with yellow, so Guy and Vaughn. So Suko and Ani came in for them. From a set piece perspective, obviously Ani's coming back from injury. There's maybe been some performance related selection choices there. But his long throw is another set piece opportunity that he's able to bring that creates an opportunity that you wouldn't otherwise have. So it was nice to see him take a couple long throws. When he moves the advertising boards, he physically moved the advertising boards back at one point so he could get his run up. That is we've scored goals off of his throws on several occasions, so it is nice when he's on the field to be able to have that additional dimension to the set piece roster. So it was nice to see him back in that regard, because if we're scoring all goes off set pieces, we might as well create as many set piece opportunities as we can from the field or off.
Yeah, there's that. I think I nearly had a heart attack at one point because I saw 32 go up on the board, it was the Lexington 32, coming off. Because I was going to be like, what are you doing? Here. Had a little bit of that thought at the very, very end when he took Bill Hart off and stoppage time thing to put Zhao in. I was like, Bill Hart's one of your guys who can score goals and score it on his own. Like, don't totally get that one. Uh, Also, maybe start to think like we haven't seen as much of Joao as I would have expected at this point. So I don't know if it's a performance in training, if there's still a nagging injury, like what the deal is there, because I hadn't totally realized it until that point. But I was like, oh, he's only getting like stoppage time minutes right now.
Yeah. Go Miro, as the comms kept saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, like maybe I guess he's a little pacier than some of the other players, but he's also one of the smaller players. So like maybe there's like a physical size
Oh,
thing in the midfield, going with players like Sierakowski and O'Dwyer and Vaughn over the Pineda, Joao, like more like live winger profile. I don't know.
nor do I. So yeah, kickers take another loss. This, keeps them at 10th in the table, for right now. Lexington, gets their second regular season win of the year. They're up, hold on to 11th place. They're up to 9 points, now. So 3 points behind Richmond, still 2 games in hand. Kind of just a quick update for what's going on around the league. Kickers did not get a lot of positive help last night, from other results. Yeah, Greenville, Knoxville, scoreless draw. They're both well ahead of us at this point. Uh, Madison loses to NOCO at home, 1-0. Hart wants to say, awesome, ha ha ha. Head is starting to think, that's not great because NOCO is currently the 8th place team. Eight teams are getting into the playoffs this year. They're in 8th place, currently on 15 points or 3 points ahead of us. They have 2 games in hand. Omaha, probably, I think you can make a good case for them being the actual best team in the league. They lose at home to a 10-man Chattanooga team. Chattanooga now on 16 points with a game in hand. Omaha's far enough ahead. We're not catching them, so I'm not even going to worry about that. Did get a little bit of help in the late games. Charlotte beat Spokane 4-2. So Spokane is the 9th place team right now. They're on 14 points, only 2 points ahead of us, but they got 3 games in hand at the moment. And probably the most useful thing that happened last night was Tormenta goes out to Fuego and loses to them for the second time this year. So Tormenta 7th place, 15 points. We have a game in hand on them. So I think if we're looking at the path to the playoffs, Tormenta is one of the teams that absolutely have to catch. Because I don't think they're any good right now. They got big news during the week. They sold a player to a League One team in England for a quote record league fee, undisclosed, which always makes me wonder what it really was and how it's actually structured. But still, good for them, good for him. On
The dirt
that,
pile lives on. Everyone thought it was a
I
stadium
know.
announcement. We were all saying "R.I.P. the dirt pile," and
Yeah,
then
hopefully,
they
not
were
use that.
fuming.
Hopefully, they're not using that money for a bulldozer.
Yeah. They were so mad because everyone was like, wow, this is really great for them. Like, obviously, like their stadium sucks so much. Like, obviously, they have like the worst stadium in the league. So, like, this is really huge. And then it has nothing to do with the stadium. So,
Yeah.
RIP, RIP Tormenta's big news. Turns out everyone used it as an opportunity to flame their home ground.
Hey, we can't be good. We'll at least be funny.
Exactly.
All right. And so, yeah, Fuego got their second win in that game. They're up to 8 points now. So
huge for Jermaine Jones.
Yeah, while it doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really matter if you finish 9th or 12th. That little buffer to that we had towards the bottom end of the table disappearing. So maybe pick up some points for many reasons. You know, coming up, uh, coming up next week, out to NoCo. So off to their little turf baseball-y field sort of thing out there. I don't even know how you describe that stadium properly. I do know 2 times the Kickers played there last year wasn't pleasant.
Yep.
So hopefully they can turn this around because I think again NoCo is one of the teams that the Kickers are chasing in the standings right now, and there's only 9 regular season matches left. And it's a tough upcoming run for the Kickers. You got this is league only. I'm not counting the cup because we're out of that already. But the next 4 league games are at NoCo, at Greenville, at Omaha, at Charlotte. Like I feel like that's about as tough of a run as you could be able to create in this league, and we're already behind in points. Already giving games to most teams in the league right now, so they've got to find a way to get something out of some of these games, right? And that because the home stretch is 4 out of 5 at home, and the only away game in that stretch is at Tormenta. So that side of it, all right, doesn't seem as bad, but they got to at least be within realistic sight of the playoff line, going into that finals, 5 instead of 5 games.
Yeah. And if it means a mindset switch to the spoil sport mindset rather than, take each game as it comes, take each game and just try to figure out how to ruin that team's day, that works. That works fine to me. We're not building a dynasty here at this point. Any of the hopes we had to rebound from last season and build something, more positive and consistent, I can say no shot that's happening this season. So if it becomes just do what it takes to get points, however you can, I'd prefer that over, which we said last season, and now here we are. We've only won a handful of games since that, so it's not like, again, there's a track record that this team is able or willing to do that, either from a management perspective, the willingness, or from the team perspective, the ability. But at this point, I'm not expecting much, but it would just be nice to see a bit more of a fight against any team.
Yeah. So with these, next 4 league games, how many points do you think they probably need to get to have have that realistic chance going into those final home games?
It's just absurd because it doesn't feel like maybe we had like some optimism in the like the March April stretch that we might be able to put results together. It doesn't, like, it's hard for me to say now that that's true, especially with like the Madison result. Honestly, I said it was a fluke when it happened. And that has only proved more and more correct. So it is, I don't know. And this team, they haven't been drawing games either. Like there's not even like, the grit to like see how to draw in a lot of ways. I don't know, 3 points, 4.
Yeah, I was going to go with 4. So average 1 point per game. That's roughly what they're doing right now. They're on 12 from 13 games right now, so I think that would at least allow them to not really keep pace, but not lose too much ground along the way. So that way, you come home at the end of the season and you get the return game against Lexington, you get a Chattanooga game, and there you get a Tormenta game in there, and wouldn't be surprised if those are 2 of the got to pass 2 of those teams at some point. So I'm looking for a fighting chance. I'm not going to be excited about going 4 home games in late September and October that are dead rubbers.
No. And then, just a team, playing the kids, like not even giving ourselves a shot at home anyway, because there's nothing to play for. So like it would be at this point though, like the games meaning anything don't seem to, outside of the Henny Derby, like the games meaning anything. Like this was a game that we all said like this is kind of a must win. Like you're going to the team below you in the table. Like there are some, like the results have to start coming. That doesn't seem to be motivating this team either from a management or player perspective. It's hard to say like which one is winning out here, but I think that's also the most frustrating part is the occasion is never seeming to motivate the players in any way. So it's so I say I would like something to play for in that final homestand, but the team doesn't actually seem to perform any better when there is something to play for. So I don't know. Maybe that's just, maybe it's better to have nothing to play for. I don't know.
Yeah. I think we said all we need to say right now. So in NOCO next week, since they are in wacky, time zone out there, that's a 9 o'clock kickoff. So not a full, kickers after dark scenario, but getting close, to it. So good news is you're going to be able to spend a little bit of time, Saturday, even into early Saturday night, you know, doing whatever kind of things you need to do to make people think you're not a complete uh, weirdo loser for wanting to spend your night watching ESPN Plus.
Yeah. And if you're looking for your daily dose of USL1 drama, check out the USL1 subreddit. There's some interesting discussion going on as it relates to Northern Colorado. So if you're interested in hearing,
might be a big focus on the no part of NOCO. There. All right. I think the only other thing maybe to even briefly talk about is if you're looking for your soccer fix in Richmond, it's coming Wednesday. I don't even remember what the technical name of the tournament is. It's basically the women's version of the Leagues Cup, going on, coming to town. Kate, anything that people should be on the lookout for with that?
No, it should be good fun. Chicago Red Stars playing the Washington Spirit. Most of the bigger names that you might know on those teams, unfortunately, will not be there. They are, Trinity Rodman, Alyssa Nair, Mal Swanson. They've all been called up to the Olympics, obviously. So some of the bigger names on those teams, unfortunately, will not be in attendance. Croy Bethune, who is the breakout star for the Washington Spirit this season. So that's a bit unfortunate, but it should still be a whole lot of fun.
Excellent. So that's Wednesday night. Good way to be able to spend your midweek evening.
Some soccer you might not care about. Just getting to enjoy without actually emotionally investing.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe some of our Ivy gals will be on one of those teams, in the next year or two.
Would be nice.
All right. Well, Kate, anything else you want to add before we sign off of another fun episode?
Save me, Olympics. Save me. Maybe I'll have some fun watching sports today.
Yes. Put you in a boat, send you down the river, and
I'll wave a white flag of surrender.
It's a cool concept. I don't know. The boat rides didn't totally work for me. I think there's something about seeing like them march into the stadium that maybe just because it's what I'm used to.
Agreed. And it rained. So everyone was a little bit miserable.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week. Hopefully a more upbeat, episode. Then we do appreciate you taking the time to listen. You feel free to follow us. At River City 93 on. I think that's what it is on pretty much every platform that's out there. I don't know if Elliot's made any of the platforms that I don't know about or know how to use, like your TikToks or any of that. But on all the old people social medias, that's where we are. And we will look forward to talking to you in 1 week. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.